Hearty welcome to all the students of grade 8. Today we are going to learn an interesting topic from the NCERT science book, and the name of the chapter is Crop Production and Management. We have learnt that all organisms, especially living organisms, require food for their growth. Plants can make their food by themselves. So it was people around 10,000 BCs ago. They were wandering in groups from place to place in search of food and for shelter. And when they ate the raw fruits and vegetables and started hunting animals for food, later they could cultivate land and produce rice, wheat, and several other crops. Thus was born the term or the practice called agriculture. What are the different agricultural practices in order to grow a particular crop? Before that, we need to know what is a crop. When plants of the same kind are cultivated at one place on a large scale, it is called a crop. Before moving into the various agricultural practices, let us see how the cropping patterns can be identified and what are the two major crops grown in our country. They are nothing but the kharif crops and the rabi crops. Kharif crops, the crops which are sown in the rainy season, are called as kharif crops. The rainy season in India is generally from June to September. Crops that are grown usually in the winter season from October to March are called as rabi crops. Here comes some of the basic practices in order to cultivate or produce a particular crop. Starting from the preparation of the soil, followed by sowing, adding manures and fertilizers, irrigation, protecting from the weeds, harvesting and storage. Now let us see in detail to all the practices involved in the crop production. Coming to the first practice, preparation of the soil. Before growing a particular crop, we need to turn and loosen the soil so that the roots will be able to penetrate deep into the soil, and which will enhance the growth of the earthworms and microbes present in the soil, which will automatically increase or adds humus to the soil. Here comes few agricultural implements or the instruments used in order to prepare the soil for the crop production. In order to do the turning of the soil or in order to loosen the soil, we need to undergo a process called as ploughing or tilling. It is done by the above given instruments. The plough is usually made of iron or wood. If the soil is very dry, there might be big pieces of soil which should be broken into small crumbs. In the ancient times, in order to till the soil or to loosen the soil before adding manures to the crops and to remove the weeds and to scrape the soil, we used to use the ploughing share. This instrument contains a triangular iron strip called as a plowshare, and the main part of the plow is a long log of wood which is called as a plow shaft. There is a handle at one end of the shaft. In the modern days, the instrument which is used to remove the weeds and helps to loosen the soil is nothing but the hoe. It is a long rod of wood or iron which is strong, broad, and has a bent plate of iron which is fixed to one of its ends and works like a blade. It has been pulled by the animals. Nowadays, ploughing is done by tractors which are driven cultivators. The use of tractors or cultivator saves labor and time. The second step involved in the practices of crop production is sowing, which is an important part of crop production. Before sowing, it is a duty of every farmer to select a good quality seed. Good quality seeds will be clean and will be healthy seeds of a good variety. Farmers prefer to use seeds which gives us good yield. Before sowing, one of the important tasks is to know about the tools used for sowing the seeds. The traditional tool which is used for sowing the seed is shaped like a funnel. The seeds are filled into the funnel and passed down through two or three pipes having sharp ends. These ends will pierce into the soil and place the seeds there. Nowadays, the seed drill is used for sowing with the help of tractors. This sows the seeds uniformly at equal distance and depth. It ensures that the seeds get covered by the soil after sowing. This also protects the seeds from being eaten by the birds. So sowing by using a seed drill saves lot of time and labor. Manures and fertilizers are substances which are to be added to the soil in the form of nutrients for the healthy growth of the plants. They will supply mineral nutrients to the crop plants. These nutrients are essential for the growth of the plants. Continuous growing of crops makes the soil poorer in certain nutrients, and hence we are supposed to add the essential amount of manures and fertilizers. Farmers have to add manures to the fields to replenish the soil with nutrients. Fertilizers are the chemical substances which are rich in a particular nutrient. They are prepared in the factories, and the use of fertilizers has helped the farmers to get better yield in the crop production. But fertilizers are expensive, and excessive use of fertilizers has made the soil less fertile. It may also become the source of water pollution. Here are some differences between fertilizers and manure. Irrigation. All living beings need water to live. Water is an important for the proper growth and development. Water is absorbed by the plant roots. Along with the water, minerals and fertilizers are also absorbed. Plants contain nearly 90% of water, and hence water is essential because germination of seeds does not take place under the dry conditions. So what is irrigation? The supply of water to the crops at different intervals is called as irrigation. The time and the frequency of irrigation varies from crop to crop or from soil to soil and from season to season. There are several sources of irrigation. In the olden days, they mainly used to depend on the wells, ponds, lakes, rivers, and later they started depending on the tube wells, dams, and canals. Now let us see to the various traditional methods of irrigation used in the olden days. The water available in the wells, lakes and canals is lifted up by various methods in different regions for taking it to the fields. Cattle or human labors is used in these methods. The various traditional ways are pulley system or mott, the chain pump, dekli or rahat. Pumps are commonly used for lifting waters. Diesel, biogas or electricity and solar energy is used to run these pumps. So here comes the modern methods of irrigation. The use of sprinkler system. This system is very useful on the uneven land where the sufficient water is not available. The perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles on top are joined to the main pipeline at regular intervals. When the water is allowed to flow through the main pipe under pressure with the help of a pump. Another important modern method of irrigation is the use of the drip irrigation system. In this system, the water falls drop by drop just at the position of the roots, and so it is called as drip system. It is the best technique for watering fruit plants, gardens and trees. In this drip irrigation system, water is not wasted at all. It is actually a boon in regions where the availability of water is very poor. The next major practice after the irrigation system comes the protection of the crops from the weeds. In fields, many undesirable plants starts to grow along with the crops, and these undesirable plants are called as weeds. During the olden days, the removal of weeds were done manually by human beings using their hands. The process of removal of weeds is called as weeding. Weeds are also controlled by using certain chemicals called as weedicides. Weedicides like 2,4-D. They are sprayed in the fields to kill the weeds, but they do not damage the crops which is growing. The major step or the practices involved in the crop production is the harvesting process. Harvesting of a crop is a very important task. The cutting of the crop after it is mature is called as harvesting. The crops are pulled out or cut close to the ground. It usually takes 3 to 4 months for a cereal crop to grow and to be mature. Harvesting in our country is either done manually by sickle or by machines called harvesters. In the harvested crop, the grain seeds need to be separated from the chaff. This process is called as threshing. Nowadays, harvesting is carried out with the help of a machine called as combine. The farmers with small holdings of land do the separation of the grain and the chaff by winnowing also. For future purposes, it is very important to store the crops which have been harvested. Storage of the produced crop is an important task. If the crop grains are to be kept for longer time, they should be safe from the moisture, from the insects, rats and microorganisms. The fresh crops has more moisture. If freshly harvested grains are stored without drying, they may get easily spoiled or attacked by microorganisms, losing their germination capacity. Farmers store grains in jute bags or in metallic bins. The large-scale storage of grains is done by granaries or silos to protect them from pests like rats and insects. Farmers even use dried neem leaves in order to store the food grains at home. For storing large quantities of grains in big godowns, specific chemical treatments are required to protect them from the pests and microorganisms. Hope you all really understood the basic practices and the agricultural implements used in the crop production process. If you really like my video, kindly like, share and comment your views. Thank you.